At this hour, a Kamala Conundrum. Democrat lawmakers in Washington, D.C. looking at the vice president with fresh eyes, and that may make them cry. They are less worried about President Biden's age and stamina, and finding out they probably can't ignore how voters feel about Kamala Harris. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. It's becoming a familiar GOP refrain. A vote for Biden, who turns 81 years old this fall, is a vote for Kamala Harris. His recent falls and verbal gaffes are not helping matters. New polling shows most voters on the left say they are comfortable with her taking over for Biden. But among voters across the political spectrum, and you're going to need everybody, the vice president's approval rating is tanking, staying stubbornly lower than the president's for months. Voters give the VP nearly 37% approval and 56% disapproval. That's according to a new 538 average of recent polling. Britt Hume says this problem is real.
People have had a dose of Kamala Harris and have not been impressed. And Nikki Haley may have had the best line of the year when she said a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. And people look at that and they say, well, as old as he could go at any time, and she might well end up being president.
Apparently, top Democrats on the Hill really don't want to talk about it.
Do you think he has the stamina to finish a second term if he were?
Yes, I do. And please don't bother me with such frivolity.
Are you worried that President Biden's health may his age may be finally catching up to him?
No.
Do you think that President Biden's age is finally catching up to him?
I'm really proud of the job President Biden's doing as a leader.
He's taken a few tumbles, though. I mean, do you think he has the stamina to serve another term if he were reelected?
Again, we all take a few tumbles. They're not all televised because we're not president.
Power panel now. Gianno Caldwell, Fox News political analyst. Kevin Walling, former Biden campaign surrogate. Great to see you. Gianno, I'm going to start with you. Former Speaker of the House 2 times, with the wisdom to say, don't bother me with such frivolity. And it's in every polling for months.
And it's going to continue to be. The truth of the matter is Democrats have become delusional about the prospect of their president and vice presidential candidate and what 2024 will mean for their party. I know what the numbers are saying about individual voters in the Democratic Party being supportive of Kamala Harris, but let's be clear here. These polls are not indicative of what the rest of the country is thinking. Democrats, they confirmed to identity politics, so they wanted to support her in the beginning. But you got independents who really make up the bunch of who's going to be president and who's not. They're not with her. Republicans are not with her. She was a failure on the border. She's continued to be a failure on anything that the president gives to her. Not only that, her staff shakeups have really made the administration look really bad. They have a communications problem. She has a communications problem. It does not look good for them at this particular time. So they need to find something else.
Kevin, I'm going to come straight to you. I want to get to this. The White House is definitely worried about voters' perceptions of the vice president. The president has been talking her up at events. Well, that's nice. And top staffer Anita Dunn is charged now with a big push to boost her image. That's her job. Larry Sabato, director of the University of Virginia's Center for Politics, says that's not going to be easy. Here's a quote. It's not a job that puts you out front unless the president has put you there intentionally. And even then, any vice president is seen as a derivative of the president. The job does not lend itself to full makeovers. Kevin, your reaction?
Well, listen, I'm with Larry Sabato. The job of the vice president is a really difficult one, and we've seen the same dynamic with Republican administrations and Democratic administrations. But, you know, the vice president passed the most important test with Joe Biden just 2 years ago by defeating the incumbent president by 8 million more votes than the Trump-Pence campaign. So you saw that same dynamic play out with Donald Trump and Mike Pence.
Didn't accomplish that. I mean,
well, certainly she campaigned hand in glove with the then vice president Joe Biden.
Is that a steel
and delivered
glove?
a victory for the Democrats 2 years ago.
Because for the longest time, he pretty much ignored her. And when there were some opportunities to give her support when she was failing, which is what you would do for someone that you really want to see succeed, you would have started to nurture that problem then. It's only now in the 11th hour as you turn 81, and that's a problem in the polling widespread, and her numbers are so far down. I don't even know Where are the 36% of people who like her? What are they looking at? Gianno, one quick last word, and we'll move to the next.
Well, she's polling as the worst vice president in history. So we don't understand whether that 36% approval number is, because she's also lost support among the black community, which was one of her strongest gets. That was the reason why Joe Biden actually wanted her. And now that's failing. So
Why do you
I
think
have
that
no
is?
idea what they're going to do to. Because they wanted tangible action. They thought that her being vice president would lead to that, and it has not. Joe Biden and his administration has absolutely failed the black community, and those black voters who supported them know it, and now they're thinking about this election, this 2024 election, very differently.
Well, when you look at that most recent polling, and it has been about 3 or 4 weeks now, the president in that category, that compartmentalized voting bloc, African Americans in this country, fell from 90% to 58%. So there's a lot of work to do on the left there. I will come to you, Kevin,
We can absolutely
next.
right that ship in the next 15 months.
All right,
I'm not worried about that.
A few seconds. How are you going to fix it?
We're going to campaign directly to those people, talking about the accomplishments of this administration, that we have the lowest black unemployment rate in the history of this country.
You're not counting
and we
black
need to get
men.
that
That's the
message,
reason why.
And we need to get that
They're not
message out
counting
to
black
those
men.
communities. We're counting all black Americans in that number, Gianno.
No, that actually isn't true, Kevin.
100%, absolutely. And we got to just take that message to all different communities that make up the Democratic bloc.
The last time I looked, if you are having a problem paying for the food on your table, the messaging probably is too late. You got to start to stick and move now. You got to have action, exactly what Gianno was talking about. And that's on either side of the aisle. It's just that your side's in power right now. So
well, thank goodness now inflation's down 11 months.
All right,
we're at
let's
4%. Go. It's still too high, but we're getting that number down.
All right. Well, you've got the messaging, but you're not the president. Yet. The GOP
Heaven help us all, Harris, if that happens.
I don't know. The GOP-led House passing a bill yesterday that would block the Biden administration from banning gas stoves. The Gas Stove Protect and Freedom Act sailed through with more than 24 Democrats voting in favor. The bill now heads to the Senate, where the Democratic majority is likely to take it up. However, Senator Joe Manchin has made it very clear where he stands. He ripped into the administration's green agenda restrictions, telling Fox it absolutely shows you how disconnected the Department of Energy is with the facts. You cannot eliminate your way to a cleaner environment. It's not going to work, end of quote. And remember, the Biden White House has long insisted it is not coming for your gas stove. Watch.
I'm not looking to ban gas stoves, and the CPSC has no proceedings to do so. The president does not support banning gas stoves, and the Consumer Product Safety Commission, which is independent, is not banning gas stoves. So I just want to be very clear on that.
Well, that didn't live long. Kevin?
Well, listen, the president, as the press secretary just said in January, has said that the administration is not going to ban anyone's gas stoves. The Department of Energy works for the president of the United States. That's administration policy. I'm just happy that Kevin McCarthy has gotten his house in line and is now actually taking votes after taking the week off based on problems with his own caucus.
Well, if the president were so strong on this issue, Gianno, it's June. Why did it take 6 months for Democrats to say, oh, well, maybe that's not a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, after they got beat up time and time again, even from the mainstream media on this issue. But we also got to keep in mind with the electric vehicle situation, how they're trying to push people into purchasing these very expensive vehicles. Some of these moves have been ruled unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court, West Virginia v. the EPA, where we saw the Clean Air Act was struck down because of these kind of decisions they're making over at the EPA, the Biden EPA. Americans, especially when they learn about these things, they disagree and they push back, and that's the only reason why Democrats may even listen at this point, that they're seemingly listening.
All those restaurants that depend on gas stoves, the like, I'm sure they've heard from everybody. Cooking on gas is delicious. All right, good to see you both. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.